stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 30 minutes Brands Hatch casual race with a Porsche 911.2 GT3R here at World Pro Racing. My name is Nicolas Hillebrand. Tonight, I am your only commentator because it is overall quite a short race, but in the middle of the week, what is nicer than just a little quick casual race? Today we have 20 talented drivers filling the grid for us at this beautiful traditional British circuit. We, of course, have Justin Mifsud on the cameras and just generally directing the broadcast. Of course, this is also helped with our FIA-accredited stewards, George Muscat and Adrian Figallo. And, of course, this stream, this race, wouldn't be possible without our sponsors, AMD, HyperX, GT Omega, Thrustmaster, Melita, and, of course, Gaming Malta and VisitMalta.com. So, yeah, as you can see down there on the stream, on the screen as well. Of course, this is also being broadcasted on our Twitch, on our YouTube, and of course on ESTV, Motorsport.tv, and on TVM Sport. So, Brands Hatch in this beautiful configuration, the full Grand Prix circuit, very iconic. F1 used to go here a very long time ago. At that time, Nigel Mansell set the record of this track, the world record as well, of course, because it's the fastest lap ever done here, just over a minute, and that just shows you how short this lap is, and also how quick this lap is. Right now, we're on practice, and I think we will join the action on track in just a moment. And there we are. Here we have already Luke Whitehead. Quite strong streak from this young man from England. Of course, on home ground, even if it's with a German car, he is going to want to continue that, but right behind him, only 6 tenths back right now, only 3 minutes into free practice, we have Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Normally we know him in a Lexus or other bigger car, sometimes even in mid-engine cars, but the Porsche is definitely not one of the cars we're used to seeing him in. And of course, Nate Thomas, also one more of the British drivers that have joined us quite recently. Nate Thomas, sorry. But either way, already done quite a few very interesting and also very impressive performances. Right now we have all these drivers here all in the same car, so it's completely the same car, no differences in BOP or anything. The only difference that comes in would be the setup, of course. We have Asker Abel here, and that is a bit of a wide line through Hawthorne. He barely keeps it together, but I think he's going to reset to the pit lane for that, for now. But you know what they say, it's better to do a mistake in practice than in the race, so better get everything out of your systems or whatever you are on right now, and just get on with it. Jamsram Galbajmat, now in 7th place, 2.4 seconds off the pace right now. Of course, everyone's already tackling practice in different configurations, of course, as well. Some people are attacking with race fuel, and others are attacking with quali fuel, of course, as well. Different engine maps, people are trying to find out what suits them the best. Now, right now here, we have Justin Mifsud, though, in the 911 Porsche for GT Omega RPM Esports. Our favorite drone operator from the last couple races we had. Sorry, it's Nathan Mifsud. I keep misspelling names today. But, yeah, I think that's just going to be a theme of this evening. But, yeah, let's keep the camera on Nathan right now. We have very nice conditions here as well. Around the track, we have a rather early setting for this. The practice is starting at 7 AM in-game time. The qualifying will start at 8 AM in-game time. And the race start time will be at 9 AM in-game time. So, what does this mean? Right now, you can see the track temperature is at 24 degrees Celsius. We will see that gradually improve over a bit of time. So, people will have to adjust tire pressures, and that is a little bit of a white line at the exit of Paddock Hill. Up the Pilgrim's Rise and now into Druids. But, as I said before, get the mistakes out of your system. during free practice, maybe even in qualifying, but of course in qualifying you want to use as much of your time as possible to get clean laps in. Now we have Camille De Bastiani, the Frenchman in the number 72 Porsche. Very nice livery, very reminiscent of the good old classic 911 RSR livery that Porsche has been running, or had been running, for quite some time in the WEC. And of course this car was also launched in pretty much the same livery, except with a bright green stripe instead of bright red stripe to differentiate it. But let's talk about this car for a moment. 911.2 GT3R. It is quite an exceptional car, in real life and in this, because of course it's a Porsche. Other than, for example, the Cayman, of course, this is still a true Porsche, so to say, because this is still a rear-engined Porsche. Most of the weight therefore on the rear. It's a very unique car handling-wise through that as well. And therefore it's also a bit of a driver's preference, I think. A lot of people already know from mid-engine cars, they are quite agile because most of the weight is centered around the middle. The front-engine cars, of course, most weight on the front axle, so they're quite stable overall. Except for under braking, of course, you still have to watch out there. So a few close moments in last weekend's Daytona 24 Hours, of course. And of course, in every single of these high-powered GT3 race cars, you have to watch out. 4-liter engine here now in this one. The Porsche definitely upgraded from the old 3.8-liter machine in the old generation. But besides that, not only the engine got an upgrade, but also the aerodynamics. Not only that, also the suspension to minimize the bad effects from a rear engine car. Stephen Johnson here making a bit of a sideways entrance and exit through Graham Hill. Now at the end of the Cooper Straight going into 30s, that looks a lot more planted now. But yeah, through these corners here, we can see a little bit of off-camber at 30s. It's a difficult corner to get right, a difficult corner for the car to put the traction down, and that's where a rear-engine car like the Porsche really shines. But the big difficulty there is, of course, all of the weight is on the back, none of the weight, or, well, a minuscule part of the weight in comparison, is on the front axles, so it's a lot of understeer that drivers will have to fight with. Not only that, but throughout the duration of the race, of course, fuel consumption. The fuel tank in this car is located in the front, so it's quite difficult for the drivers, of course, to adjust to that, simply because it's a constantly changing weight balance. Back here to Nate Thomas. Just getting his tires warm, I think, to let another driver past. Yes, there we go. And that is Jan-Niklas Erbrich in the rather bright-colored Porsche there, with no team. Quite a few of the custom liveries here. And I think actually most of the drivers here are using the custom livery editor, which is of course part of Assetto Corsa Competizione, as they now go down Pilgrim's Drop here into Hawthorne once again. And on board now here with Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Nice, we can see here very well. Gets on the brakes, down to third gear through Westfield, and it just keeps on turning slowly. Gets into Sheens now. Very nice, keeps it clean. Down to second gear now to that on-camber corner at Sterling's, but still runs a little bit wide, but that should still be a legal lap overall. Up to fifth gear, down to third gear, back down over that crest, a bit off camber, through Clark. Last corner, of course, and now the Brabham Straight, which you may have noticed is not quite as straight. However, it's still called the Brabham Straight, of course. He improves. 123.562, so we can see people will start pushing on the limit now. Only 2.7 tenths behind Luke Whitehead now, who is right now just relaxing a little bit in the pit lane. He probably wants to just scout out a little bit, of course, what other drivers can do, but I think that last lap spurred a bit of fire in him. There he is coming out of the pit lane, and this is something that people will have to look out for in qualifying. Hopefully not in the race, because of course in 30 minutes you shouldn't be coming to the pits, but if that should be the case, if an accident should happen, or someone maybe got an off, or they had a tire blowout, they have to pit, they will have to look out that they exit the pits safely, because of course, paddock hill, quite a difficult corner, and when there's a car on the inside coming out of the pit lane, so therefore quite a lot slower, that makes it all the more tricky. And Luke Whitehead now, already experiencing a little bit of stuff with traffic already. And I'm sure that car behind him is not quite so happy with that, because originally I think that was on a flying lap still, and that fighting costed a little bit of time. Either way, that trio on screen is now heading through Sheens. Actually, no, sorry, that is still Westfield. Now, there we have Sheens. This used to be a chicane way back in the day, but they removed that, so it has a nicer flow and a lot more speed. At the exit of Sterling's now Clearways, this little straight in between Sterling's and now into Clark over this crest again. You can barely see it except for here. Now it goes properly downhill. And this is just one of these signature things about Brands Hatch. It's 3.908 kilometers, or for people using the Imperial system, 2.43 miles. But in all of this, you have so much elevation change, it's just absolutely incredible. It's still one of the tracks, one of the few tracks that hasn't lost any of its character over the years. Now we have Luke Whitehead here down to second gear, coming through Graham Hill, now into the Cooper Straight, up to fourth gear, and this should be down to second. There we go. Bit later turning, because of course this is a quite long corner, and that little bump there. In most other cars you have to look out a little bit more, but the Porsche is just perfect for that, with all the weight on the rear axle. Up to fifth gear, and this should be going down to fourth gear here, into Hawthorne. And once again we see how much these drivers are pushing, getting on the outside curb with the inside tires for that corner. Up to fourth gear again, makes it around the bend before Sheens down to fourth. Heavy over that inside curb, basically clobbers it, and now down to third gear actually. We saw there Niklas Erbrich take second here earlier, but it all depends on your line, of course. It all depends on your braking point. And now we have him coming over the crest once again through Clark. And can this be a lap time improvement, I wonder? Comes over the line and... yeah, not quite. But still, nevertheless, a quite fast lap. Erbrich now close within a tenth, and that is Perna having quite a ways off, and I think that was just a little bit too much through Sheens. As a few other cars make their way through the carnage. But, nevertheless, back to Nate Thomas. Once again, wide. You can really take these few grindstones, or whatever you want to call them, these brick-like stones that give you a little bit of traction on the outside, on the exit of Westfield, but at Sheens, as Perna just found out, it's not quite the same. It's just grass, it's slippery, and the traction control will not save you there. Nate Thomas now, after warming up the tires a little bit, coming out for another quick lap. Only 1 minute and 3 seconds to go now, so this will be his last timed lap. You can see these cars here with a 123.2, you're already quite fast here, so that shows already the speed of F1 cars in the 1980s. Current record here held at the moment, I think, is 109 by Nigel Mansell, if I recall correctly. So 14 seconds, but that's just the different cars. And now, there we are. That's actually a bit of an improvement there from Luke Whitehead, 123.202. So it puts a little bit of breathing room between himself and Jan-Niklas Erbrich in second. Now we have Kirsten Abeya from the GT Omega RPM esports team, making his way into Graham Hill. Stays very far on the right side of the circuit up until this point here, jolts to the inside, but overshoots it a little bit, and actually, yeah, that overshoots it by quite a little bit. As he goes past, I think that was the damaged car of Brett Perna, who hasn't pitted yet. Fonseca is the first one to finish this session, besides all the people still in the pit lane, or already back in the pit lane. Right behind Abeya, we see a little bit of roughhousing there. I think that was Whitehead making his way past, and Abeya just trying to get some more groove into this, and that is a bit too far on the right side. He was able to keep that there, but of course, braking on the right side. You have to brake as far on the right side as possible, but of course, as soon as you hit the grass, it's quite a different story, and that was once again quite a big slide held by Kirsten Beyer as Luke Whitehead comes across the line again. Quite slowed down, of course, with all the kerfuffles he hit along the way. But, of course, that doesn't matter. He still finishes the session in first. So we have everyone now preparing for qualifying. And of course, it'll be 15 minutes again. At this point, of course, we have to say, if you can picture yourself just racing in these, of course, taking part in these races, feel free to join the Discord. Follow World Pro Racing on all the social medias, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, and always be up to date with us. And of course, just register on this website. Everyone can join these races. We do races on PS4, on PS3, PC. Sorry. A little bit out of date by now. But yeah, of course, also not just ACC, but also R-Factor 2 and Gran Turismo Sport sometimes. But soon going on track, there we are. There comes the screen in the perfect timing. And that is Tom Revox, a little bit off the track there on Happy Trails exploring the grass there. As everyone now is making their way on the outlap. Of course, everyone has to get their tires warmed up, get the tires on pressure, on temperature, brakes on temperature, of course. You have these different sets of brakes, of course. Number 4 brakes are widely known as the nice little qualifying brakes, mainly because they give the best brake performance at the perfect temperature, but also because they last only around 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the circuit. However, not sitting here now discussing brakes, we're sitting and discussing Jan-Niklas Erbrich, who's starting his first time lap. On board now, you see wonderfully here, off camber, over the crest of Paddock Hill, up the Pilgrim's Rise, now into Druids, down to second gear for that, actually first gear. So gets it slowed down quite late. But Erbrich now early on the throttle, third gear, now maybe fourth, no, stays in third, down to second, into Graham Hill. Over the Cooper Straight, and I think that may have been a bit wide, but he's still pushing. Now to Surtees, second gear, gets the car turned in, get it completely to the inside, Jan-Niklas. And gets all of the road on the outside, even the curb a bit, up to fourth gear now, up to fifth gear now. Down Pilgrim's Drop, and now to Hawthorne, just before the 50-meter marker, or, well, even closer than that. Down to fourth gear, over the Derek Minter Straight, and now to Westfield. Completely over that inside curb, completely over that outside curb. Gets it going nicely, keeps up the momentum, and doesn't go up into fifth gear, stays in fourth, actually goes down to third here over the inside curb, and now down to second into clearways after Sterling. And this here is clearways now. Fourth gear again, fifth gear, now brakes just after the marker, down to third gear, over the crest of Clark, and out of the Brabham Straight. Stay inside here, Niklas. It's the shortest distance to your target, but he elects to take a bit more momentum instead. And that is at 23.7, so not quite the fastest lap yet. We saw him do faster before, and Luke Whitehead immediately shows how fast he can go. That's a 23.280. Now we have Nate Thomas coming next. Actually takes a lot closer than we saw from Erbrich, but still behind that, 24.021. But of course, that's the first lap with this new 2020 tire model. The fastest lap starts coming with the second lap. These tires run on because these tires just need to be worn in a little bit, and people are coming in with their qualifying lap times now. Pedosada with 1.7 seconds off, so a little bit further off. Jamstrom Garbage Maz is in 5th place right now, and behind that, blink and you miss it, Rainer Resser, less than, well, just over half a tenth behind Jamstrom. The Bastiani a little bit behind that Vieira, Legriston, Fonseca, Albrecht. And that is a lot of people still to set faster laps, but of course, they still have to get used to that, and Erbrich actually goes an invalid lap here. So he's going to be crossing the line and start a new one. But Luke Whitehead, I think, is going to be setting his next faster lap. That's a 22.923. And I think that is quite the number to drop on your opponents here. Whitehead wants to show them, I think. He really wants to show them. This is just a casual race, guys. But nevertheless, I'm still going to be standing up on top. This is the mental games already coming in. Jorge Fonseca now with the Wrights Motorsports Porsche livery coming through Clark on the Brabham Straight. Improves by 7 tenths with a 26.4 now in 12th place. Of course, now Erbrich here. Eyes on him as he's the closest one. Third gear and gets it quite cleanly this time through Westfield. There was an GT Omega Porsche just evading there after I think what was probably a wide line. Now fourth gear down to second again here. We saw from Whitehead that he takes it in third there, so difficult strategies, difficult lines here. Going into Sterling's, but now coming into Clark once again over the crest, barely even clipping the inside curb. And Erbrich keeps it more inside this time, now coming to the outside for turn 1. And there we go, that is more likely to be a proper qualifying run from him here. 23.151 gets up to 2.5 tenths within breathing distance. Now here's Camille De Bastiani coming with his next run. So far 25, but now look at this, 24.432. Quite an improvement there, an entire second shaved off. Catapults himself into 4th place onto the second row of the starting grid. Jorge Fonseca once again after he improved by 7 tenths last lap. Let's have a look if he can improve a little bit more. And he can! Couple more tenths shaved off. Gets it up to 11th from 12th. And of course, it doesn't seem like much, but the starting position, of course, is quite something to consider as well. They're starting too wide in these races. And of course, you want to be having the favorable line. Christopher Legerson improves his time to a 26.004. So, not quite 007, but then again, he's not driving in an Aston Martin. So, that will work out just okay for him. Quite close to a 25, of course, as well. And that is Jamsram there. MNG Porsche with, I think that was, yes, the 17. Looked like a bit of a brutal hit there. But, of course, he can just set back to pits and have another run at it. Rainer Resser now coming through Sterling's down clearways. Under the bridge now. Makes his way through Clark, down the hill, and now up the hill again. Over the Brabham Straight. And that is another 7 tenths for him. 6th place now. Catapults himself up into the 3rd starting row from, I think he was 9th before. And here we have our expert drone pilot from the last couple broadcasts, Nathan Mifsud. Currently with a 25.7. Comes across the line, and it is an improvement. Minor improvement, but Legerson improves more. Relegates him from 9th to 10th. Hanna coming now underneath the bridge at Clearways. Comes to the last corner. And can he make a difference here? The number 8 Porsche with silver classement. Not quite able to make a big difference, but nevertheless, that is still from 17th to 16th. Makes it a nice way up. And of course, that is a bit alarming for Matthias Albrecht, because it's only 6 minutes and 10 seconds around that mark left. So these guys will now have to get on their A game. Last chances to get everything in order. And we can see here the different sector times. Overall, Whitehead, quite a lot of purple there, but the 3rd sector, by 0.003 of a second, that is really blink it and you'll miss it. Erbrich is just a little bit faster there. Right behind that, Thomas, of course, then De Bastiani, Peresada, Ressa, Jamsram, Revox in 8th place, Legristen, Mifsud, Abea, and then Afonseca in 12th place. Then we have Ferreira in 13th, Abel in 14th, Johnson in 15th, Perner in 16th, and in last place right now we have Matthias Albrecht, and we're still missing 3 cars, I think. So there might have been some complications there. But nevertheless, 17 cars on this small track, that is going to be quite a handful already. Makes their way across the Brabham Straight. But can't quite improve. There was a mistake in there. 9/10 down on their lap. Now Kirsten Abea coming into, that was Sheens. Now making his way into Sterling. It's out there very far on the curb. Now a bit early on the brakes, but starts accelerating early as well. Stays more inside, interesting line, we haven't seen that so far. And stays completely inside now, makes his way slowly to the outside now. Just barely misses his mark. And now very far on the inside actually. Actually clips the inside curb at Paddock Hill. And that is also not something that we see very often, because of course with this Porsche, under brakes you get a bit of weight onto the front axle, but you have to fight this entire car to get it turned in properly. Luke Whitehead, however, he has not had enough yet. 4 minutes left in the session. He thinks he can do better than 22.9. Now making his way out of Hawthorns, and maybe just... he's maybe just trying a little bit too hard right now. Maybe he's also just on a very speedy outlap. Of course, once you have to do the outlap, you want to get it done as quickly as possible. Now we have Michael Pedesada in 5th place right now. He's also still within striking range to quite a few cars right behind him. Of course, he's comfortable in 5th place, but you have to look behind him on the time standings. That's Ressa, that's Jamsram, that is Revox, and also Legriston. Legriston's still in the pits right now, and so is Revox now, but behind that we also have Nathan Mifsud. That's all just half a second, and on this track you can gain that faster than you think sometimes. Of course, very fast lap, quite a lot of high-speed corners, but that doesn't make it easier. You can gain a lot of time, but you can also lose a lot of time just by carrying the right momentum through the corner, but also if you just overshoot a little bit, like Michael Pedesada did here, you can also lose it very quickly, and he's actually approaching it now a little bit further inside. This lap should probably be invalid by now, but either way, 5th place still, improved the last lap by, so probably trying to come around for one last ditch effort to maybe even get De Bastiani in 4th place. Because for him that would of course mean 1 row further up ahead on the starting grid, and of course you want to be as close to the front as possible. Now we have Rainer Ressa here, the Estonian in the pink 690 Porsche, 2.1 seconds off right now, only 3/10 or even less than 3/10 behind Pedesada, and of course that is only just a little blink, just a bit more momentum carried through a corner. Just a little bit more optimism on the brakes, and he could get those 3/10. Only 1.5 minutes left now. Makes it across the line now, and actually improves a little bit again. 25.038, so new personal best for him here. De Bastiani now in the pits, Erbrich in the pits. So these two have given up. Johnson, Perner, Revox, Legriston, Afonseca comes into the pits, actually practices pit entry, I think. You know, it's better to be safe than to be sorry later. Makes his way into the pit box. Now there's Luke Whitehead here. Last lap it didn't quite work out, 23.337. But look at him attacking those curves, and that might have already been too far on the inside. But nevertheless, he keeps on pushing, so there might still be a valid lap over the inside curve at Sheens. Now switches over to the right side for braking. Very deep into Sterling's, very deep down the inside. uses all of the on-camber mechanics of that corner. Very late again on the brakes here. Takes all of the tarmac, now stays completely inside on the Brabham straight, and that must be fast. Not quite. Just not quite, but there's still another lap in it. No, he actually stops. He actually has stopped the car. So I think that might have been his last ditch effort to improve even more. But nevertheless, pole position. And I'd say a pretty safe one so far. Rainer Resser finishes the session. We now have run out of time. Everyone is just going to come across the line now. Pascal Abel in 14th place here. Looking at his final laps coming together. Let's have a look if he could improve there. Actually improves up to 13th. 26.118. So the 7th row switches around in positions. Abel will probably start on the inside. Vieira will start on the outside in that case. Abea, though, one of the last cars on track, comes out of Sterling's, now down clearways, underneath the bridge once more. Heavy braking to Clark. Takes all of his momentum. That is a lot more road than Abea was taking before. But quite far outside. But that is actually enough. Abea jumps up to 5th place in qualifying in the last-ditch effort, last car on track, and that, of course, just shows it's the last-minute runs that sometimes rarely count. And what a jump it was, 1.5 seconds off the pole position. But this will give the other drivers, of course, plenty to be alarmed about. But now, 30 minutes of racing. Who can just completely, consistently pull off these laps? This is the big question here. Of course, you have to race, but before you can finish, you first have to survive Brands Hatch. It's a quite tricky track, of course. Off camber, on camber, elevation change. And of course, all of that at high speed in a car that is more tending to be understeery, even though it is aerodynamically optimized. We will see, though, if these drivers are up to the challenge. And of course, we will have to be right back then with the race session once it starts. So everyone's still preparing. 1 minute remaining. So, this quick break. Just take a moment, and if you're interested in this, if you're liking this so far, despite me, you can like, share, and subscribe to the social media, of course. Follow World Pro Racing on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and of course YouTube to be always in touch with us. Of course, you can also just join our website, join the Discord, and all the links are provided. If you feel like racing, come to World Pro Racing. 30 seconds left, okay. And then one last little plug, of course, you know. Yeah. Shout-outs to Porsche for providing this car, I guess. But basically, we're almost getting going here. Everyone in the same car, 17 Porsche 911.2 GT3 Rs with the nice 4-liter naturally aspirated Boxer 6-cylinder engines, or as they're more well known in English, flat 6. And normally this car is around the maximum power output of 550 horsepower, or PS, the German unit. But that all depends, of course, on BOP as well. Normally it's settled at around an empty weight of 1,250 to 1,300 kilograms, which is, of course, a bit of a difference in power to weight ratio as well. But none of that matters right now. Everyone's in the same car. Everyone's trying to warm their tires. Everyone is, of course, beating nervous and completely now focused. When will the green light come?
Go, go, go.
And there it is. And it's go, go, go here in Brands Hatch. Whitehead gets a good start, but look at that. That's Erbrich holding it around the outside. Can't quite keep it around the outside, though, because that's Whitehead getting onto the power. Thomas now within the attacking range, though. Looks down the inside. Erbrich has to leave space on the inside. On the outside, we've got, I think that is Abea. And there also De Bastiani, who was actually overtaken by Abea through the first couple corners. And right behind that, I think, we have Rainer Resser, actually, who has made up some places as well, up to 6th place there. So moves happening all throughout the field. Here we have Matthäus Albrecht in 14th right now. Mifsud made his way up to 9th place. But Nate Thomas here now. And he can't even see, if this was a road car, he wouldn't be able to see that number plate of Jan-Niklas Albrecht's Porsche. But look at them now, all in a single file right behind each other. And of course, aero push is not as much as with a Formula car here. But of course, they still have to look out. All of the stress is going down on the tires and just so close for this entire thing here. The big rear wing on the back of this Porsche actually covers up a little bit of the side of Jan-Niklas Albrecht's very brightly colored Porsche 911 with the 299. Michael Parasada dropped back a little bit, I think. Is also in attack range now for Nathan Mifsud there. But so far, we have had no incidents whatsoever, and that is actually commentator's curse perfectly there. That was a car going off there, and I think that may have been... It must have been a bit further up the order, but as they like to say in these situations, never say no to a freebie. Bruno Vieira now having to defend from the Porsche right behind. That is Albrecht, I think. No, actually, that is Revox, sorry. Fred Perna actually also in 16th place. Abel in 17th. Matthäus Albrecht now, though. I think it was maybe him who had that off. Now down to 15th place. And right behind Jorge Fonseca. Making his way into Hawthorne now. Very late on the brakes. But look at that wiggle. Actually, sorry, that is Johnson as well. So cars constantly moving around. We, of course, only get updated positions all the time with each sector. So in the middle of that, a lot of changes can happen. But it's all looking quite close still in the back of the field. But also the midfield. This is an entire train just running through. Whitehead is starting to run away a little bit, and Jan-Niklas Albrecht, he's just thinking, come on mate, let me through, I want to fight Luke. But Nate Thomas is just a little bit out of range to be attacked, and that is... Oh! Gerstner Bayer, definitely not willing to give up his position in 4th place there without a fight. That is De Bastiani, Camille De Bastiani, Frenchman in 5th place, not quite within range to attack. And he also has to look out for Rainer Resser right behind him. Legriston now, bit on the wider approach, but leaves the door wide open there. I think that is for Johnson. Yes, indeed it is. Very reminiscent of the Manthey Racing Grello livery. Nice little pearl effect here. Steve Johnson now in 13th place. Makes his way around Hawthorne onto the Derek Minter straight, and that is Nate Thomas actually taking all of the inside. Actually, I think completely cutting over the inside grass there, so he'll also have to watch out for that. And actually cutting over the outside grass as well, so we have battles all the way down the field. Actually, we have to just keep everything in touch here. Legriston now having to defend from Albrecht there, and now, once again, a Bayer, closely followed by De Bastiani. Not quite in range though, but now he has to actually get the best line through turn 1, clips the inside curb and actually helps himself get the car rotated a little bit, but that is very deep into Druids, and De Bastiani is right behind him there, looks right down into his exhaust pipe. Look at that, that was a way bad exit out of Graham Hill. Down the Cooper straight, and oh, you can see how much he's pushing. You can just constantly see how he's trying to give a bit more throttle to get that little bit closer. Constantly adjusting. As I mentioned earlier, the track will be getting warmer. It's 27 degrees now compared to the 24 we had earlier in free practice. But once again, Camille De Bastiani and a Bayer. Oh, not quite. He thinks better of it than to make a move into Westfield. Of course, it's possible, but it's difficult. It's difficult. And right behind that, Rainer Resser will just be thinking to himself, Well, I don't know what these two guys are doing, but if I just wait long enough, I will get my chance as well. As he gets deep into Sterling's and loses a bit of time. And right behind him, we have Pedesada with the number 7 Porsche, another yellow liveried car. Now, eyes on Abaya again, almost within striking range of De Bastiani, but not quite there. He's not quite able to make a move just yet. Now we have Nate Thomas here once again, of course. Erbrich, he's always staying within these 2 to 3 to 4 tenths. Always trying to make a move, but it's just so blasting difficult around this circuit. Can see him gaining a bit of time there, brakes a little bit later, changes his line a little bit to get a later exit, and that actually does help a little bit, but now that straight, I'm afraid, will not probably be long enough, but it's actually close enough to get Thomas to panic a little bit, and that will compromise his exit a bit. Keeps the inside line to keep defending, but Erbrich also trying to stay a little bit cautious there. Doesn't want to get into range for any sort of issues that he might get collected with. And both of them are just using all of the track that they can get. Both of them hard on the outside curb. Now hard on the brakes once more. Look at him closing on the brakes there for a second. Nate Thomas trying to get away, but there's once again a little bit of gaining from Erbrich over the Brabham Straight. And now look at this, De Bastiani actually way closer than before, but still not quite close enough. Abaya doesn't let himself get intimidated. And Ressa trying to take a very far inside line, completely clobbering over the inside curb. There's now Stephen Johnson in 12th place, actually defending against Albrecht there. Albrecht not quite able to put himself alongside, but Stephen Johnson he overcooked it into the corner. We also have the first news from our race officials here, the stewards, number 3 on 9:13, so that would be Vieira on Legersten, and actually Legersten has dropped down quite a bit. Just got back past Perner. Hit Perner. Now back in last place there, and Legersten, I think something must have happened between the two, because of course under investigation and he's quite far back now, but look at how close these two are. Erbrich completely just throwing all the caution to the wind, completely right behind him. And Thomas, he's always blocking the inside. He tries to just not give Erbrich any chance to get to the inside. And now Abaya once again tries to get away from De Bastiani, but De Bastiani just stays with him the entire time. This time even closer, looks for the outside now. Abaya tries to go for the smaller distance on the inside of this bent Brabham Straight, but actually, gets quite lucky there, because De Bastiani with a lot of rotation in Paddock Hill, but a little bit of over-rotation, gets a bit of power slide and loses momentum. Almost gets attacked by Ressa into Druids. At this pace, I'm going to lose my voice before even the halfway mark. Abaya now making his way onto the Grand Prix layout, and here's Legersten and Perner actually. And I think we lost another one there. Actually, yeah, we have. That is another position change which hasn't been registered yet because it's just through turn 1. And actually, that's Nathan Mifsud. That's Nathan Mifsud in 17th. That is in the pits. That is quite unusual. So something must have happened there. But oh my goodness me, that is actually quite considerable here now. Nate Thomas holding it around the outside, going over the outside grass and over the outside grass again. Through Sheens and now through Sterling's. Now almost alongside on the braking and Niklas Erbrich. But now over and under, gets it on the inside, and now he's through. Erbrich gets the move done after lap after lap after lap. After 7 laps of trying, there's the successful move. Now the question is, can Thomas get that place back maybe? And Abaya now completely clean of Ressa and De Bastiani. So something must have happened to De Bastiani there. Some form of mistake, because Ressa is also through. Now Oscar Abel here. against Carsten Ligristen, and Ligristen actually making it through. Right behind that, we have Perner also looking to make a move on Asker Abel. Abel actually trying to get back alongside Chris Ligristen, but not quite able to. Luke Whitehead, though, he's ruled this race from the start to now. 8 seconds in the lead from the last sector time on. And Nick Thomas already breaking away a little bit from Niklas Erbrich. But look at that, there's no sign of breaking away there. Stephen Johnson having to defend his position from Chris Ligristen as they come around Hawthorne into the Derek Minter straight now. And that's actually a car turned around. That is a yellow flag there. And as soon as yellow flag's over, there we have Chris Ligristen making the move down the inside, right between Westfield and Sheens. And there was quite a lot more momentum he was able to carry through there. And we actually have a confirmation that Mifsud has sadly DNF'd after heavy contact with another driver. And this is just one of the dangers of Brands Hatch. It's such a fast circuit, there's not quite a lot of runoff. Luckily for all the drivers, there's still a lot of gravel, a lot of grass, so very big in tradition here. But sadly, it doesn't still stop all of the cars. Stephen Johnson now with alternating lines between himself and Abel. And Perna actually sends it down the inside into Druids. Makes the move stick. And Perna is absolutely just dive down the inside. Abel not able to defend it there. Apologies for that pun there. Actually gets a little bit better momentum through the entire section that came after Druids. Graham Hill and Surtees now look at this little gap that has opened up. Revox actually in the pits as well, so I think Revox might have been the car that was down there. And yes, I think Revox has DNF'd now as well. But here's the man of the hour. The man who was fighting for 7 laps to get past Nick Thomas. After he messed up his start, after he left that gap for Nate Thomas, and Nate Thomas thought, hey, the door's open, I'm just going to breeze right in. And Erbrich has been trying, or well, was trying for lap after lap to get through that, but now 2 seconds ahead of Nate Thomas. 8 seconds behind Luke Whitehead though, but now all eyes on Stephen Johnson and Brett Perna. But Perna not quite able to get alongside, but Stephen Johnson... Ooh, actually a little bit worried, I think, there. At contact, but Brett Perna, that is just exceptional driving right now, making moves left, right, and center. Camille De Bastiani now having to defend from Pedesada as he covers the inside, and we have a nice close-up there off the bridge before Pilgrim's Drop. And there we have a final verdict of the incident that was under investigation. That is a 10-second penalty for the number 3 for an incident with the 913. So Ligristen in 11th right now. Apparently was impeded for a dive with a dive bomb, and that is from Vieira. So number 3 getting a 10-second penalty. Erbrich now actually making quite a lot of distance. I think Nate Thomas must have had a mistake there. Because now 7 seconds, almost 8 seconds behind Erbrich. And there's some more shuffling going on in the field. We have Perna now having to defend from, I think that was Abel. So Abel also able to attack. And makes that move stick very nicely. Gets past out of the fast left-hander at Sterling's, and that was actually Steve Johnson, I think, getting back onto the track there. And yes, that is him. The Grello liveried Porsche. Now dropping down to what would be 14th place. View to the front though. That is Luke Whitehead, 8.4 seconds in the lead when he crossed the Sector 2 marker line. Erich not able to answer his pace right now, but that is also a little bit of gravel there. Look out, Luke. If you do that too often, you will have to deal with maybe a drive-through penalty for cutting. That, of course, you can't quite catch that back up. But Erbrich also pushing on the limit, putting himself an even bigger gap between himself and Nate Thomas. Gasner Bayer actually right behind that as well. Down to 7 seconds behind though, who has to now defend from Rainer Resser, so I think some drivers also have to fight now with the tire conditions changing. Next round, Johnson versus Perner. Perner gets to the inside, Johnson leaves the door open, very respectful between the two. Go through side by side, and Perner very closely slots back in. But Johnson down the inside, goes deep though, and now Perner's trying to pull the over and under. Does it work? Not quite. Johnson still for the inside for Graham Hill. And they're still alongside, fighting down the straight, down the Cooper straight, now coming to Surtees, and of course Johnson is in front for that. Finally completely able to settle alongside, well, to settle the alongside debate and settle himself in front of Perner. And a little bit outside of the firing range of Perner. Fight constantly going on in the background. Closest couple we have right now. But look at that, Steven Johnson just a little bit too wide, once again too wide, and that is actually a lockup because he's braking on the grass, goes through the gravel there. That's not as the track pillars had intended that to go. And I think that's not how Johnson intended to take the corner at all as well. But Perner now makes this way down the inside of Sheens and gets a nice run through the rest while also running a little bit wide through Clark. 12 minutes left. So only a few more laps to go. We are well over the halfway point. Almost a third of the race done. And Britt Perner, he's trying to keep his position now. But Johnson also trying to hunt for that position. You can see that car in the background there already again. So Johnson maybe with a little bit more pace overall through the lap, but just not as much consistency, because of course you can have the fastest lap time in the world, but if you just keep making mistakes, you're still going to drop down. Right behind Johnson we have Jamsram. Gelbermeijes. This is quite a difficult last name. Let's stick to Jamsram. 15th place, he's half a second behind Johnson. And Johnson now within 2 seconds of Perner. So constantly gaining. The front here though we have Bruno Vieira, the Portuguese man from BV Motorsport in his number 3 Porsche. 7th place, but he will most certainly lose that position. At least 2 places behind right now. Because, of course, actually that is up to a stop and go 30. Because we had another penalty come in. That is with the number 7. So, for making a dangerous move and causing an incident with car number 7, that must have been for Pedesada, who's also dropped down quite a bit of time. So yeah, stop and go 30-second penalty. He will have to deliver that, because otherwise he will be fighting with a disqualification, and at that point there's not much fight left. But that is Abea actually, I think. That was Abea dropping down. Abea dropping down from 4th place after a mistake, leaving Rainer Resser in 4th place now. And Camille De Bastiani is looking there. He's looking at that rear end of the GT Omega Porsche quite lustfully, looking for another round of action. looking for one last dance in the last 10 minutes. And here we have difficult lines here. Bit of weaving there, a little bit of sliding, and that is very, very tight. But the Bastiani makes it work. And I think drivers will also now be fighting with the different weight load that they had, or well, that they have now compared to what they had in qualifying. Abea 4/10 now behind the Bastiani, and of course that's 2.2 seconds now from the Bastiani to Ressa, so if Abea wants that back, he has to drive quickly. Jamsram now against Perna, against Johnson. So both of these looking for a fight for P13. Both of them overall graded by Assetto Corsa Competizione in a pro driver ranking. That would be either gold or platinum, compared to Perna in silver. So this either means that they have a little bit more time and therefore more ratings unlocked, or also just done a lot more driving, got their consistency rating up, got their safety rating up, and all of that jazz. But that doesn't matter right now to Perna, he's still in front. And there's Vieira delivering his 30-second stop-and-go penalty. Jamsram looking quite nicely over that inside curb. Brakes very late. It's looking almost through the rear view window to look ahead to where he's driving of Perna. That was a little bit too much steering input though, it kills a little bit of the momentum, and there we have Johnson now looking down the outside. Look at that, on the brakes, not quite able to make a move there. And they keep it all settled through the first corner. Look at that now. All of them still so close together. Jamsram still ahead of Johnson, and also, of course, still trying to catch Perna. Will he be able to make that move, though? It's only 7 minutes left. They're running out of time. And Vieira, of course, now right behind them as well. Actually, no. Let me correct that. That is Luke Whitehead coming up to lap them. So, even more spice added to this. Jamsram right over the rear end of Perna, and I think we had another position change there. That is Ressa actually dropping down behind Abea and behind the Bastiani. But we're going to keep our eyes on Jamsram against Perna. Just a little bit wide through Sterling's. Loses a bit of time again. And there we have Whitehead. We have him slotting in right in front of Johnson, and maybe Johnson just wants a little bit of slipstream. Not a lot of places to be gained here with slipstream, but it's still going to help you a little bit more. And there we see the fog lights, or well, the high beams, flashing up and down, flashing on and off, basically saying, hello mate, it's me. Can you quickly let me through? And that is actually a very wide line there for Jamsram, and actually loses quite a lot of time to Johnson and also Perna. Actually, there we are. But also Perna losing a lot of time by himself, actually just slowing down. But Whitehead makes his way past everyone without losing too much time. Actually gained a little bit of time on Ebrich there, almost 11 seconds lead now. Just Abea down in 5th place, or up in 5th place, depending on perspective. It's actually where he started, so overall it all worked out so far for him. Of course, wants to get past the Bastiani though. Ressa actually has lost another place against Afonseca. So a lot of movement going up and down there. Of course, this track is quite heavy on the left side tires because, of course, a lot of high-speed right-hand corners, and just generally when you're constantly just pushing on the limit, this is always this little contrast. You have to, of course, think still. These cars have a lot of downforce. Compared to a road car, these things stick to the ground like, well, instant glue, basically. And yet, they're still trying to overcome that inertia that comes from their immense weight in comparison, because, of course, they have around, I would say, around 700 to 900 kilograms of horsepower. 900 kilograms of horsepower, yes. 900 kilograms of downforce, that is the word. But of course, they still weigh over a ton, over 1.2 tons at least. So they still have to fight with the inertia, with the slowness, with the sluggishness of their car compared to a Formula car, which can weigh down to just barely 500 kilos. So in these corners, they're always fighting on the tires, and these tires, they will start screaming for mercy by now. Michael Pedesada now here, 3 seconds behind Ressa, but still quite comfortable in front of Albrecht. Eighth place treating him well so far. If he just doesn't do anything different in these next couple laps, he will get himself a nice top 10. But Perna still being hunted by Jamsram though. Can barely see Jamsram's Porsche right behind that big rear wing of Perna. Close enough to be hidden by the car, but not close enough to make a move. Actually gets through Surtees once more. We see that violent bump there on the exit. A lot of people complain about that bump when they're getting to learn this track, especially in front-engine or mid-engine cars, but this Porsche, it handles it like a champion. Now we have Nat Thomas here. Actually, I think that is a lapped car right behind him. Since the fight he had with Erbrich, not too much has been going on. Dropped down to 17 seconds behind the German. So not quite what he wanted, but nevertheless, the Omega E Racing Team driver should be happy with a podium, especially when it comes to strong drivers like Whitehead and Erbrich, of course, who have established themselves numerous times in casual races in the Sprint Series. And of course, these semi-endurance races we've had, 90 minutes to 2 hours, it's quite a lot of racing that we've been doing. And in these races, Whitehead and Erbrich, they've always been showing themselves at the top. Do you want to know how you measure up against these drivers here? It's as it says on the banner at the bottom here. Join World Pro Racing on the website, on the Discord. No matter what skill level you're at, you will find some fun racing here. Professional environment, friendly admins, and of course a nice community as well. Races every week, so if you need your weekly or even daily dose of adrenaline, come swing by at World Pro Racing. And speaking of World Pro Racing, of course, also just like, share and subscribe, of course, on the social media, and follow, of course, as well. I keep forgetting to say follow because most of the time it's just like, share and subscribe, but of course, in cases like Twitter and Twitch, a follow is always welcome, of course, as well. Just stay up to date with upcoming events, upcoming series, and upcoming everything. And of course, that social media would be Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So now this should be the last lap. 2, 1, and 0. 0 strikes the clock, but the race only ends when Luke Whitehead crosses the line. It's like that classic teacher saying, the bell doesn't dismiss you, I do. And no one in this race is dismissed until Luke Whitehead crosses the line and ends the race. Makes his last round around this big square that is the Grand Prix circuit. Over the inside curb at Sheens. Down to third gear now, into Sterling's. Barely clips the inside curb for Sterling's, and long over the outside curb. That is a back marker right in front of him. It goes early on the brakes. Will he get that one right before the line, or will that back marker have to go another way around? That back marker will have to go another way around, but the man of the hour, Luke Whitehead, flashes his lights, weaves happily. What a race from him. That was game, set, and match. Of course, qualifying, pole position, the early lead, and then, of course, the win. Second place is taken by Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Fantastic drive from him as well, reclaiming that position from Nate Thomas. After 7 laps, almost half of the race spent behind Nate Thomas, trying to find a way around the Omega E Racing Team driver. But nevertheless, he made it through. Nate Thomas, of course, going to be a little bit disappointed at that, but still happy with the podium, I imagine. Now, one by one, everyone's making their way across the circuit to the start-finish line. Our eyes still on Luke Whitehead, just trying to make his way back to pits. And as we know him, he's going to be happy. He's going to be grinning up to below both ears. And there we have the Bastiani now settling into 4th place, Abaya to 5th place, Afonseca in 6th place now. Then Rainer Ressa in 7th place. Next up we should have Pedesada coming in 8th place. There we are. And Albrecht into 9th place soon. Actually, here we have the final results already. Quite a few people. So, top 9 still on the lead lap, and I imagine those will be the calls for people to come for interviews. And what a race, of course. Maybe not a fight for the lead, but fights all throughout the field. Always exciting, and constantly sideways in places where I honestly didn't expect sideways action to be happening. And of course, as I just said, just before we crossed the finish line with Luke Whitehead. If you want to join this, register on worldproracing.com. Of course, join the Discord, stay up to date, and I think we actually have our race winner here right now. Luke, what a show you put on today. Qualifying already quite strong. Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
Oh, yeah, qualifying already quite strong. Got pole position, and then put quite a note on pole position as well with a 22.9. And the start then went in your favor as well when Nate actually put himself in front of Jan-Niklas. But how did your race go?
I'm over the moon, really. Obviously at the start, Jan-Niklas would be quite quick. So I was delighted when that got in front of him. It was a massive pressure off my back, really. And then from then on, I just pumped out consistent laps that were, quick enough to extend the gap. And then, came across a couple of back markers at the end. But yeah, it was really good. Surprisingly enough, at Brands, it was quite easy to negotiate the back markers. I would have thought it'd be very, very difficult. But yeah, very, very happy with the race. My pace was very good and very consistent. I'm just happy to get 3 in a row now, with obviously the last casual race and the Sprint Series now. I'm getting some really good momentum, so I'm very, very happy.
So yeah, quite difficult circuits, quite different cars, of course, as well, but 3 for 3. And, maybe it's in your team name, of course, H3. But basically, very well done today. Fantastic race, as I said just before you guys joined game, set, and match. But, of course, not a bad race from the rest of our podium setters. Next one, of course, is Jan-Niklas Erbricht. Jan-Niklas! Yes, quite a difficult fight at the start, but you made it through at the end. Everyone was holding their breaths, I think. And, of course, quite a nicely planned out move in the end.
It was hard because I know I could maybe get onto Whitehead if I did not drop down place in the beginning. But the overtake, I think that was one of the nicest moves I've ever made. It was so much fun. Yeah. It
was just very good to see both of you fighting on the limit, fighting fair. And of course, that is just always what people love to see. And yeah, overall, would you say that you're still happy with your race? You know, even though you didn't quite get the chance to fight Luke?
Yeah, I think he was just a tiny bit faster, like 2/10 of a lap. So I think I could not get the first place. But yeah, the Porsche is awful to drive, so I'm happy to switch car for the next race.
More likely to go back into the Lexus then?
Yes, the Lexus.
But yeah, rear engine, of course, not something for every man and woman. Then next up, we go to Nat Thomas.
Hello.
Third place, Nat. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels good to shift the momentum back in a positive direction. I had a torrid week last week with a bunch of technical difficulties, having issues in Sprint Series and the other casual races. So it feels good to be back in a positive mindset and get a result in.
Yeah, of course. This, of course, always helps. Very nice podium in the end. And of course, who could forget, as I already mentioned it just now, what a fight you had with Jan Niklas throughout the first 7 laps. Fantastic driving from both of you, and constantly everyone was holding their breath, I think.
Yeah, that was definitely the same from a driver's point of view. It was really, really tough. He pushed me really, really hard, and he just had the overall edge. Unfortunately, I picked up some damage at the start, so I was nursing that, and once he got past, he drove away, but he drove really, really well. Similarly to Luke, he drove away and dominated the race. But I just want to say a big thanks to Omega E Racing Team. Recently transitioned over to them, and their setup was phenomenal today. Allowed me to just pick it up a couple of hours before and go, hey, let's give it a race, and managed to get involved. So big thank you to them.
Yeah, so fantastic to see a lot of support from your new team as well. And yeah, and I think, of course, they'll be quite happy with a podium as well.
Yeah, they'll be happy to hear that. So yeah, big shout outs to them.
Righto. But then, of course, we have basically arrived at our end for today. Of course, as always, thank you to our sponsors, IMD, HyperX.
This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.